Yo, what's going on, guys? Zed here, back once again with a brand new video, and today we'll be doing a budget $700 1080p 60 fps max settings gaming build that will handle 1080p at 60 fps, all max settings for several years. And on top of that, you'll be able to do 1440p at a much lower resolution, at a much lower settings for certain titles, or even 1440p at max settings for certain titles, and average above 60 fps or 40 to 50 fps depending on the title that you're playing. So let's just kick this build off with the CPU, which is the AMD FX-8300, the 3.3 GHz octa-core processor, coming in at around $120. Now, being a bulldozer CPU, you will get some very nice overclocks, and you will be able to hit above 4 GHz if you're into that thing. But if you are not, then 3.3 GHz is still plenty for running most AAA titles currently, and for video editing. And being an octa-core processor, you are also very well feature-proofed in handling multi-threaded applications such as rendering, video editing, streaming, and doing several other things while you're gaming. It is also an AM3 Plus socket board, so there's plenty of boards out there that are really well supported. And that's basically it for the processor. Moving down to the motherboard, we have the MSI 970 Gaming ATX, a full ATX motherboard based on the AM3 Plus socket, and using the 970 Gaming Northbridge or Southbridge, I believe it is. I forget what AMD calls it. Has 4 total RAM slots supporting up to 2133 MHz. This is DDR3, by the way, so keep that in mind. There is RAID support, there is Crossfire and SLI support. You also have SATA 6 gigabits per second, and you also have onboard USB 3, and gigabit Ethernet. It also has a very nice red and black themed build. Red and black themed motherboard sort of layout, so that will complement the RX-480, which is also a red and black themed graphics card. Moving down to the CPU cooler, we have the PHANTEKS PHATC12DX-BK 68.5 CFM CPU liquid CPU cooler, featuring for around $50. It is a white and silverish CPU cooler, so that does kind of sway away from the overall design. But if you can swap those out for some nice red looking ones, that would help really well. But mainly I opted for the CPU cooler just because of how awesome it looks and how well it performs. Most people were able to keep their CPUs around 40 degrees C at idle, and some people were able to keep it at around 30 degrees Celsius on idle. And after gaming and such, people rarely hit above 50 degrees Celsius. And within overclocks, you should have absolutely no problem keeping your CPU below 60 degrees Celsius, even though it's an AMD FX lineup series CPU, which is known to get quite hot. Moving down to the memory, we have the KINGSTON HYPERX Fury Black. We have 2 gig kits at DDR3, DDR3 1866 MHz. 16 gigs of RAM is plenty for anyone that's looking to do multiple things at the same time. And honestly, it's one of kind of the sweet spot for most gamers and video editors, and will really help with streaming. But if you don't really want 16 gigs, you can always opt for 8 gigs and expand to 16 gigs later. And if you want 32 gigs, this is only a single gig DIMM, so you can always opt for more because there's 4 total RAM slots. Moving down to the storage, you have the SEAGATE BARRACUDA 2TB 3.5-inch 72,000 RPM hard disk drive for around $70. Would highly recommend going for this one just because it's 2 TB, so it's just plenty of storage, and it's only around $70, and there's not much else you can say. It's extremely reliable and will hold all your data. If you do want an SSD, I would obviously go for the Samsung 850 EVO, but for this build, I'd recommend not going for one just because $700 is pretty tight, and you want to opt for more money towards your motherboard, CPU, and your graphics card. Speaking of the graphics card, we have the Gigabyte Radeon RX-480 8GB video card, which will pair up very well with our AMD CPU. Now, being $240, you will get 8 gigs of total VRAM, which will help you keep games running in the future. Now, this is also a very well future-proofed card because it runs Vulkan and DirectX 12 really well, and beats out the GTX 1060 when it comes to DirectX 12 and Vulkan. You will be able to do 1080p at max settings, 60 FPS with absolutely no problem on all AAA titles to this day, and including you can do 4K on some titles and 1440p on most titles as well at ultra settings, and average again 60 FPS, maybe a little bit lower, but still definitely playable. Moving down to the case, we have the NZXT Source 210, the black ATX mid-tower case, so it's nice and small, nice and small, $40, plenty of room for ventilation, cable management, and for hard drive bays. Although it is slightly, because of it being cheaper, there isn't a lot of expandability, such as no USB 3 and no way to actually remove the hard drive cages, but that's kind of what you pay for with only $40. But still really high quality metal, and overall NZXT is a very nice company with great support, so it's a great case. Moving down to power supply, we have the CORSAIR Builder 500 watt 80 plus bronze certified full ATX power supply. That's an amazing power supply, runs around 30 bucks. 500 watts is plenty for the RX-480 and the FX-8300. 80 plus bronze certified basically means that it's going to be very efficient, and that's essentially the whole entire build, coming in around $700. We'll do 1080p 60 FPS max settings, and yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.